Welcome to Inside the Creative Mind with Brian Jones. Get ready to dive into the stories, sparks, and secrets that fuel creativity around the world. From musicians to painters, actors to writers, Brian takes you behind the scenes of the art you love. Let's go inside the creative mind.
All right. We got a good show today. You know, for me, country music has always been about storytelling, right? It's about truth and heartache, healing and hope. Few new artists capture that tradition quite like today's guest. A talented female country singer-songwriter who blends emotional honesty with pure Southern soul. All the way from Tennessee. Please help me welcome today's guest, Cassandra Day. Cassandra, how are you?
I'm great, Brian. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's exciting for us too, because what's really neat is I got to spend a lot of time in Tennessee when my kids were younger. They're all grown up now. You know, my son's 35, my daughter's 33. But I used to take them, and you may know this place. I used to take them to the Chattanooga Choo Choo Hotel.
I've not been to that hotel, but I have been to Lookout Mountain, and I back to back that with Ruby Falls,
Oh
which is
yeah, yeah.
there. And that's such a cool place, going inside that cave and seeing that waterfall. That was really cool.
So, can you tell us a little bit maybe about just kind of like your love for the Smoky Mountains and that whole area is so beautiful?
It really is, Brian. I absolutely love it. And I feel so lucky and blessed to live in a place where whether I'm driving to Walmart or I'm, driving to the Smokies, that I have that mountain view. It's just so beautiful. And I love to be outside. If there's any chance that I could be outside, I'm just gonna do that. So even if I'm sitting at home, I'm sitting outside. And I love it. I love to walk, I love to hike, all those things, and it's beautiful.
One of the things that I've followed, and I always check back on your feed. I'm not a stalker, I promise, but I like to I like to build things, and so I notice you've got this little kind of off-grid cabin that you've been working on for a long time. 'Cause I'd say the last year that I know of, you've been going out there and kind of messing around, doing a little bit each week. What's that all about?
Well, actually, it didn't start with wanting to do a cabin. My family and I, we really like to shoot and to hunt, and we were running into there's great places outdoors to do that, but we noticed it was getting pretty crowded. And so we decided, you know what, we're just gonna get our own land and do this. And we did. And once we got it, we we were walking it, and we were just like, "This is a great place to put a cabin." And when you get up and hunt, you wanna go early. So I decided, like, let's just go ahead and do this. And I grew up, my dad was always building stuff, remodeling, doing all that stuff, and I would help. So I have a really good understanding. Like, I put a bathroom in to my own house, an add on. I've done a lot. I've completely redid my dad's house before he moved in. So I have a lot of experience. There's definitely a lot of things I don't know. But there are so many people around that do know things. There's a lot of videos you can watch. There's a lot of things you can teach yourself and a lot of mistakes to be made along the way too. But it's been very rewarding. I'm very tired.
Yeah. Well, those jobs aren't easy, and you know what's funny is they kinda snowball, right? It's like, in my experience, I'll have this pretty simple vision. I'm like, I just wanna put some cabinets in here, we need some cabinets, let's say, above the washer and dryer, and the next thing you know, I've redone the entire laundry room.
I listen, and that was me with these doors because we were just gonna get regular doors, and I said, "Oh, but look, this one has this blind inside, like, that's the one,"
I love the blind inside.
Yes. It
It's
makes a
like I
difference, but it was way over budget.
Oh, yeah, they're so nice, though. I mean, if they don't ever break, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing everybody says, "Well, if they break, you're kinda stuck with it," but to me, I'm like, I'll take my chances with that because I hate cleaning blinds. They're a pain in
Yes.
the rear. Like you said, there's so many people that you can learn from, much like in the music. I swear we'll talk about music soon.
You're good.
But you have YouTube now, and I'm like,
Yes.
I have no idea for instance, our dishwasher quit working. And I was like, great. Yeah, it's going to cost me $1,000. And I started Googling the sound it make. And they're like, no, it's just this little part. You can find it right here. You can get it for $6 on, any website. And I did it. And I had the dishwasher in about 10,000 pieces, but it wasn't that hard. Put it in, saved $1,000. I mean, I've learned so much from YouTube. Are you doing the same thing?
Yes, if I don't know it, that's really my go-to is I'm just gonna YouTube it and see because there's so many things that's step-by-step videos, and if I can follow it, anybody can.
Yeah, and I always thought when I was raising my son, I remember doing a roof with him one day, and I was like, "Son, you need to watch me. You need to learn because you're not gonna be able to learn this from a lot of other people." Now it's like, that's irrelevant. This handed down knowledge, because he'll tell me about a project he did, and I was like, "I didn't know yet you knew how to sweat fittings," and he's like, "Yeah, I saw it on YouTube," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess you don't need a dad anymore." So recently, I'm gonna say you guys, but you independently released a new album on March 6th. It was 10 songs on the album. They're all great and they're all touching and they all seem to have some hidden message. So share with us if you can a little bit.
Sure. Um, I write a lot of things that I've gone through. Specifically, when you were talking about losing, I definitely wrote that from a relationship that I experienced. And so oftentimes things do get masked, right? And so when that line came to me, this really isn't love; it's just a masquerade. That was just straight from the heart, and it's really cathartic to let things go and to write them down and to put them to melody because so many people have been in those situations too. And I know going through a rough time, music really helped me in the songs that I was listening to. So to be able to do that for someone else is really great. And as far as stay, uh, um, my husband told me that all I write is breakup songs, which there's some truth to that because there's
Sure.
so much emotion in a breakup.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so much to put out there with that and so many emotions that you go through. And
Yeah.
so I said, "No, I can write a love song too. I can do this."
Mhm. I get challenged all the time by my wife as well, so don't feel bad.
So, when I wrote Stay, that was also just really me talking through what it was like to find, a healthy relationship. And that's really just me. I'm there, I'm very true, and I don't want to leave. So that was a really great song to write, and it didn't start with that kind of a melody, it started, a little actually more somber than that,
Wow.
and, my friend, mentor, producer, Jerry Martin, he's here, he's local, and he said, "Why don't you try it like this?"
Mhm.
And I said, like, let's do it exactly like that." So
Mhm.
that's how that song came to be exactly how it is.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, Now you talked about Jerry.
Yes.
So I I guess I always like to kinda get a feel of how people create music and I mean as far as the recording process. So, um, you know, I was a traveling musician for years and, back in the late '80s when you probably weren't even alive yet. Yes, I had spandex pants, zebra skin, and long hair, but now I'm a grandfather, right? I mentioned off camera that I've got my 2 granddaughters here, so but I think now the technology I remember what got me back into it. My wife bought me this little square recording thing. It was like an all-in-one. I can't remember what it was called, but you basically just plugged in your instrument and it recorded it and you could put tracks on it, and I kinda got back into it after all these years, and then now, fast forward 10 years later, I have this recording studio. I've uh, did soundtracks for entire movies. I've got one on Amazon Prime right now that I did the full movie soundtrack for. So
Wow.
it's a huge evolution, right? Going from this
Yeah.
little box to having a studio with all these things. But for you, when you start, are you starting on your DAW or a pencil and paper? And how does it get to Jerry and then Spotify, for example? Explain that process.
So it actually starts for me, just on my phone in a notes app, and
Mhm.
it's just a couple of lines. I have so many songs started. It's kind of wild. And I was just going back and I was adding to them, and I was like, actually, I think I can write some songs. I think I can do this. And in this area, there's not a ton in the way of music because we're fairly close to Nashville.
Yeah.
But I was really grateful and lucky to find Jerry, who has worked in that business for a really, really long time. He's awesome. And I said, hey, listen, like I've got some songs that I really want to record. And so he and I sat down, and he's got a keyboard out, and he's like, this is the key, and we're just kind of going through and talking about what kind of instruments do we want to use. And that's how, and we just went through that with each of the songs. We would sit there, we would kind of chart it out and make a demo. And then so then that demo would get sent off to a studio band.
Mhm.
And the studio band would record the instrumental part, but making sure
Wow.
all the instrumentation is in place. I know Suno is great, and I've nothing bad to say about that, but I really wanted to do it authentically
Authentic.
with
Yeah.
the instrumentation that country music really calls for. And then we would get that back, and then I would go in and record my parts
That's
and do
cool.
that, and we would do the harmonies, and then we would sit and mix and master it, and that
Mhm.
I have such respect for that, that I had no idea. That's a very tedious process.
You mentioned a couple things in there. You talked about Nashville, and for people who've, because we have listeners all over the world, so you and I'm about 7 hours from you, so I've got a pretty good take on Nashville. But is Nashville, I think a lot of people think it's just country music. "Yeehaw, come on, we're gonna do country music all the time. Grand Ole Opry, everything's going on." Well, but there's more to Nashville than country music, right?
There is more to Nashville than country music, but it is a huge hub for country music. And so when you're walking down the strip in Nashville, it really is. You have like Luke Combs Bar, and they've got, multiple floors of live music, and Morgan Wallen's and Aldean's. And there's so many of those that country music kind of, it's taken over in that aspect. There is room for other music out there too. There's some, tribute bands, cover bands. There's some hard rock out there as well. So you have a lot of like blends of that, southern rock and southern country rock and all those types of things as well. But the
Yeah,
majority of it is country music.
yeah, that's interesting. I haven't been in a long time, but I've seen the evolution in the USA as a whole, where country music's really taken over. One of the things that also picked up on your Instagram, and I've watched some of these, they're pretty open and pretty vulnerable, where you start to talk about your family and your faith. I come from really simple roots, my parents didn't have much, and we had to earn every single thing we got, and nothing was ever easy or handed to us.
Absolutely. I also came from a similar upbringing where, we didn't really have anything. And my mom moved out of state when I was younger, and I was really left to figure out a lot of things on my own, and went through a really challenging time as a young adult, and then later as an adult. And it's interesting because those are the times that you feel in the moment are gonna break you. But when you have that faith to be grounded and to lean on, those are the things that carry you out of it. And those are the things that put life into perspective the older you get and the more you look back and to say like, wow, I've grown so much. I learned so much from that situation, and it shaped me into being a stronger me, a better me, a smarter me. And I'm so grateful for everything that I've been through because it's led me to be in this position. And my family has been amazing and also provide lots of moments of challenges. Um, exactly, but it's been so great because I also the perspective of that too is, there's people that don't have that, right? They're lacking the family or they're lacking that faith connection. And the things that you might struggle with, it could be someone's blessings. So I always want to keep that in perspective and know that in my moments of struggle, in my darkest times, my family and my faith were there. And that's made a massive difference to get me to where I am today.
It also gives you a ton of material.
Yes.
Not like you want to share every moment with the rest of the world, but the feelings and emotions you described, I mean, that's songwriting material. And I think, we have another guest coming on next week that talks about, you know, her struggle dealing with social media, but her desire to share her story with others. And I'm anxious to hear that perspective. But I think that balance is out there, right? You got all this personal stuff, but you want to share this message and see if it helps somebody else, maybe in the form of music. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today that you mentioned in one of your Instagram posts as I was stalking you is that is that you've considered, and this is something maybe on your radar for the future, putting an actual band together, thinking about maybe going out and performing these songs in public venues more so. Um, and where's your head at with that? What do you think that's gonna be like from a person that's been in a band for years and traveled all over the United States? I know, but I'm always curious to think what you think it's gonna be like and where you're at in that process.
Oh, that's a good question. What I have learned so far is that it can be a real struggle to make sure that you find a lot of people that are of similar mind and values and commitment level. I decided that it was time to go ahead and take this music out there and the natural thing after you do streaming is, hey, let's go and take this live. And so that process has been challenging to find the right people. And I've got a good start. Actually, we're gonna have a practice tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. As far as what I think it's going to be like, I think that it's going to be a challenge. I love to learn things, and the music industry is full of things that you can learn, whether it's songwriting, singing, the mixing and mastering, the how to market yourself on social media, and this seems like a great thing to be able to learn. I've started looking into what it takes to have, like a good speaker setup and the mixing of things and, all of the products that you need in order to go and to play a lot of these venues. So I do think at first it will be really chaotic, but also a lot of fun and some experiences that you can't get if you're just staying at home playing. So,
So, being a young woman in the music world, there's all these expectations with social media where it's like constantly got to be posting. I do not personally like social media in every way. I like it in all the positive ways. I like it in all the good ways. It it blows my mind when I open up somebody's post and I see a really hateful comment to anybody for any reason, for anything. It's just heartbreaking. And of course, I have to always put on my Superman cape when I see that and immediately follow that bad post if I see it with something really good and encouraging. And so, how do you balance, being a wife and being a musician and having a job and a family, all these things with making time for social media when it seems to pull at you a lot? And it seems to I mean, do you love it? Do you just like love making posts or you're like, I need to do this for my fans because they need to see what I'm all about?
it's definitely the last one. I'm really not huge on social media. I've never really I think it's great for people that are, but it's a part of the music industry that you do have to embrace that and say, "Hey, like, this is how people see me. This is how they get to know me as a person, as an artist, and also my music." So I last summer when I was working on the album, I took as many marketing classes as I could just to learn and Some of the things was some of the information was super helpful and some wasn't.
Mm.
And for me, it's just finding a good balance because I don't have time or energy to post every single day. I just don't. But just making sure that I am posting things that are intentional. So I have like a calendar of things that I work on, and
Mm.
um, I feel like I have a good groove at this point. But it is still challenging. It really is, because it does need to be done. Like it's important to make sure that you are taking the time to share yourself and your music, but also not just going on and posting a rant or something like that.
Yeah,
And it is unfortunate, it does make me so sad when people are mean online just because you can keep scrolling, you don't have to
yeah.
stop and say
I
anything.
know. What is with people? Why do they feel the need to stop what they're doing, even if they feel something negative about whatever they saw and post something hateful? I don't understand that about human beings. So scratch
I
my
don't
head.
either, and the few people that have said something negative to me, I've just gone and followed them online, just
Fight with kindness, right?
yeah, just, "You know what, I'm gonna see what you're doing, and maybe I can support you, and maybe you can see that what you did was mean, or if not, that's okay too."
Well, I'll tell you, and we we get a lot of people, like, it's crazy, Cassandra, people like, "Hey, can you put me on the blog?" And then I look through their stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, wow." I really don't like to get into politics on the
Mm,
blog. I don't like to get into anything that would cause controversy. I think everybody has a right to their own opinion. I don't force my opinions on anybody else. I keep them to myself. But if I see something that would cause controversy, I try to avoid that. Listen, anybody that's listening today, if you will take time and listen to one Cassandra Day song, I'm recommending Stay. It's so good. Go listen to it. What would you like to say to any young artist, male, female, whatever, that's starting out like you are? How do you keep encouraged? Can you share that?
I think that it's very easy to get overwhelmed by a lot of things. It starts with an idea, right? I can do this. I'm good at this. And then it quickly can snowball. And there's been lots of times that I have felt super overwhelmed. And it's important just to take a moment and step back and, remember that these are all phases, that they're going to end, and that you have to keep going for the reason that you love this. If you love to play music, if you love to write, sing, paint, whatever it is that you love to do, reminding yourself in those moments of stress and feeling overwhelmed that, like, this is why I do this,
Mhm.
and always come back to that, and never sleep on an idea, because I can't tell you how many times, in the middle of the night, I've woken up with, like, a
I
line
feel you,
or
sister.
yeah. So, make sure you don't ever sleep on a line, because you never know what that could be.
Yeah, and I really don't care about likes. My buddies and I worked this week. We got a new song coming out. It's just a cover tune that I've always wanted to do, and we're just having fun. And I don't really care if I get like one like or seven likes or 500 likes. It's just something we want to do, right? It's who we are as musicians, and I think I never have cared if people subscribe or like or anything like that to my music. But Cassandra, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I just can't stress enough what a great person you are. I've talked to you in different formats on social media, and I'm blessed to get to talk to you today. So, any final words before we jump off here and let you have your weekend back?
Brian, I'm just really glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk to you, actually.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and everything you do for artists. I think it's so great, and I'm just glad to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
We're so glad you came on today. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassandra Day. Go listen to her music, not just Stay. Go listen to the whole thing, but listen to Stay. And then listen to the rest of the album too. Cassandra, have a great weekend and thanks for being here.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for listening to Inside the Creative Mind with Brian Jones. Keep exploring, keep creating, and don't forget to tune in for the next 30 minutes of inspiration, streaming on all platforms. Your next spark of creativity is just a play button away.